nothing you want is going to happen in your timing. It almost never does.
Have you ever felt like your biggest dreams are taking forever to come true? You pray, you hustle, but nothing seems to happen. Steve Harvey knows exactly what that feels like. In fact, at one point, he was living in his car and about to give up on his dream of being on TV.
I know that I lost everything twice. They wasn't around when I was homeless and I lived in the car for 3 years.
But as Steve's story shows, God's timing is always perfect, even when it's not on our schedule. Today, we're looking at 5 powerful reasons why God's timing is perfect and why you can trust His plan. Let's get into it. 1. God's plan often doesn't match our schedule.
I had $35. And I said, come on, God, man, I've been trying to make this dream come true. You done left me out here like this.
Sound familiar? We've all been there, wondering why our plans aren't happening right now. But a delay is not a denial. Just because it's taking a long time doesn't mean God said no. It might just mean not yet. In Steve's case, he would discover that the dream God gave him would happen, but in God's perfect timing, not his own. In the Bible, we see this truth often. For example, Joseph waited years in prison before his God-given dream came to pass, and David waited a long time to become king after being anointed. The wait wasn't wasted. It prepared them. God's plan may not match our schedule, but it is always worth the wait. 2. Stay on Faith Street. Trust while you wait. When nothing seems to be happening, it's easy to lose faith and give up. But the truth is, you have to be in the right place spiritually to receive it. In Steve's words, you must stay on Faith Street and not wander off to Doubt Boulevard.
See, when you ask God for something, He boxes it up and He ships it immediately. But you have to remain on Faith Street in order to receive the gift. The problem is when God boxes up the gift and He ships it to you, He never gives you the date that the package is going to arrive. He'll never tell you that. Most people move off Faith Street before the package get there. You can't move over on the I Doubted Boulevard. He don't ship packages to I Doubted Boulevard. He only ship packages to Faith Street.
3. God is never late. One amazing thing about God is that He's never late. He often answers our prayers at what feels like the last possible moment, just when we're about to lose hope. Steve experienced this dramatically. Back in 1985, he was broke, far from home, and about to quit his comedy career when out of the blue he got a life-changing phone call.
Now I was finna quit. So I said, skip it. I'm gonna quit anyway. So I got in my car, I went to a payphone. He said, hey Steve, this is Chuck Sutton with Showtime at the Apollo. We saw a tape of you. You're very funny. If you could get here Sunday night, we'd love to put you on television.
That call came just in time, but Steve had only $35 to his name and no way to get from Florida to New York for the show. He almost thought it was impossible. Then another unexpected call came right when he needed it.
Couldn't get to New York. I got $35. How am I gonna get to New York? I can't make it. So I'm standing there at the phone booth and tears just coming down my face. I said, God, so that must be a sign for me to go home. Cause this it, I ain't even got the money to go to the Apollo. My whole thing, I wanted to be on TV, I couldn't even make the dream come true. This is the most messed up moment. Before I hit the button, I heard, doop, you have another message. Now, it wasn't there before. So I punched my code in, I listened to the second message. It said, Steve Harvey, this is Tom Sobel from the Comedy Caravan. This was a Thursday. He said, I have a gig in Jacksonville, Florida on Friday night that pays $150. If you can get there Friday night, you'll make $150. So I called him back and I said, hey Tom, did you get a gig away? He said, no, it's still available. He said, can you get there? I said, I'm in Pensacola, Florida. I'm 3.5 hours away. So I drive to Jacksonville, Florida, and that night I made the 150. The club owner said, man, you funnier than the guy we hired. If you stay tomorrow night, I'm gonna give you another $150. So now I got $300 now. So I got to the Apollo. I said, hey man, I'm here. I got there at 11 o'clock in the morning. He said, you can't stay here. because you don't come on to the late show tonight. I said, man, I ain't got nowhere to go. I said, if you just let me stay in this building, man, I ain't gonna move around nothing. I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm in Harlem, I can't go back out here. I got these 2 bags. I got victim wrote all over me, man. So I said, all right, if you go upstairs, don't come down. So he put me in the dressing room on the 6th floor. So that's where all the comedians were. So I stayed up there. So I meet this guy named D.L. Hughley. I introduced myself, he introduced himself. I'm sitting there, another guy come in named Dwayne Johnson. Then this other dude walked in named Jamie Foxx. And I introduced myself. We don't know each other, ain't none of us famous. It's 1991, man.
The span of a few days, Steve miraculously went from having $35 and no opportunities to having enough money to travel and a spot on national TV. He made it to the Apollo, and that Sunday night,
D.L. Hughley got booed off. Dwayne Johnson got booed off. Jamie Foxx went down there and got booed. They booed Jamie, then Jamie started singing. And then they started clapping. And Jamie had their ass, then he went back to them jokes, and they got his ass. When the punch came, and all this here, the Apollo, man, they went crazy. They lost their mind. I got a standing ovation, man. I walked off stage, man, just started crying.
Steve's career took off from there. He says the road to success is always under construction. And his story shows that even when we can't see a way, God can make a way at just the right time. Not a minute too soon or too late. Actor Alan Ritchson, famously known for Reacher and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, had an even more dire experience of God's perfect timing. Alan fell into a deep depression after achieving success and felt so hopeless that he actually tried to take his own life. In his mid-30s, alone in his attic, he reached the end of his rope. But in that darkest moment, God intervened in a miraculous way.
I hung myself. And
you hung yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still hard to think about the fact that I would do something like that to myself, especially with kids.
At the very last second, God gave Alan a vision of his future, of his children, that jolted him back to life. Alan literally hung in the balance between life and death, but God showed up right on time to save him. 4. God's plan is bigger and better than ours. We might be focused on one small goal, but God sees the whole picture, the big picture, and He may take us on a longer route to prepare us for something greater than we imagined. Steve Harvey dreamed as a kid of being on television. He says he imagined at 10 years old I would be on TV. That dream didn't come true until he was 38 years old, nearly 3 decades later. But it finally did happen. And when it happened, it was more than just a single TV appearance. Steve went on to become one of the biggest comedians and TV personalities in America. He recalls how it surpassed even what he had pictured. In hindsight, Steve can see that the long journey had prepared him to handle that success. If he had gotten famous in his 20s, he might not have been ready. God's timing wasn't just about delay, it was about development. During those years of struggle, Steve's character, material, and faith were being refined so that when the opportunity came, he was ready to shine. The Academy Award-nominated actor Ethan Hawke put it another way when discussing life and faith. He suggested that our perspective on time is limited compared to God's perspective.
Ethan Hawke, what do you think happens when we die?
You ready? I don't think we die. I don't think that we have an understanding of the divine concept of time. I don't think we're any more capable of understanding a clock than a dog is. And
Ethan's point is that God exists outside of our timeline. He sees the end from the beginning. From our view, waiting years for an answer feels agonizing, but from God's view, timing is part of how He accomplishes something greater in us. There's a bigger picture unfolding that we can't always see in the moment. Alan Ritchson also discovered that God's plan was better than his own ambitions. After God saved his life, Alan began seeking God's purpose more deeply. He started a YouTube ministry channel and focused on helping others, and he found far more fulfillment in living for something beyond just fame or money. He said in an interview that shifting his mindset to serve others and let go of selfish ambitions changed him. And if you made it to this point in the video, please leave a like and subscribe. 5. Don't quit. Trust God to finish what He started. Finally, because God's timing is perfect, our job is to not give up before the blessing comes. The only way to truly lose is to quit early. Steve Harvey emphasizes that perseverance is key. If Steve had quit comedy that day in 1985, he would have missed all the success that came after. Instead, he kept the faith and took a risk when opportunity knocked, and God did the rest.
Your gift will make room for you and put you in the presence of important men. That's what your gift will do for you. Everything else you're doing has nothing to do with what God created you for. And if you're unhappy with your life, if you haven't figured your life out, if you're thinking there's more to your life than it is, it's because the only reason you have that question is because you're not living in your gift.
That is real talk. Steve is living proof that if you keep going and keep believing, God can and will fulfill the dreams He placed in your heart. It might not come when you want it, but it will come right when you need it. Alan Richeson's life is another testament to this. Not only did God rescue him from despair, but once Alan surrendered his path to God, things he'd been striving for began to fall into place naturally. Alan started openly sharing his faith and encouraging others, even though he feared it might end his Hollywood career. But what happened was the opposite.
I'm not thinking about my career. And when I stop thinking about my career and thinking about how I can advance myself, it exploded, dude. It exploded. I swear to God.
When Alan put God first and followed his calling, success chased him down. Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." That proved in Alan's experience. As soon as he prioritized serving God over worrying about worldly success, the opportunities multiplied. The lesson for us is clear. Don't quit and don't lose faith just because it's taking a long time. Stay faithful, keep doing the right things, and at the right time, God will reward your perseverance. It might happen suddenly and in ways you didn't expect. As the saying goes, God is never early, never late, but always right on time. Feel free to share your own experiences with God's timing in the comments below. We'd love to hear how things worked out just at the right time for you.